Giant coconut crab, part 2 of 2, the final chapter. Survival of the giant. Intro. Welcome back to Eagle Family Drama. In part 1, we entered the mysterious world of the coconut crab. We discovered a giant that lives on tropical islands, climbs trees, searches for food under the cover of darkness, and uses enormous claws to survive. But there is another side to this incredible animal. Behind its massive body and powerful claws is a long and difficult journey. A journey that begins in the ocean, continues across the islands, and eventually creates one of the largest land-dwelling arthropods on Earth. Today, in the final part of our documentary, we follow that journey. This is the story of growth, reproduction, territory, danger, and survival. This is the final chapter of the giant coconut crab. Chapter 1. From the ocean to the land. The life of a coconut crab begins very differently from the life of the giant we see on land. Female coconut crabs eventually approach the shoreline carrying thousands of eggs. When the time comes, the eggs are released into the sea. For the young larvae, the ocean becomes their first world. They are tiny, they are vulnerable, and they are surrounded by countless dangers. Predators are everywhere, food is limited, and survival during these early stages is far from guaranteed. Only a small portion of these young animals will eventually return to land and continue the journey toward adulthood. Those that survive gradually develop into young crabs. Eventually, they leave the marine environment behind. Their lives begin to change. The ocean is no longer their permanent home. The island becomes their new world. Chapter 2. The long road to giant size. Becoming a giant does not happen overnight. The young coconut crab must grow through many stages. Its body is protected by a hard exoskeleton. But that shell cannot simply expand as the animal grows. Instead, the crab must periodically shed its old exoskeleton. This process is known as molting. For a young crab, molting is essential. But it is also one of the most vulnerable moments in its life. Before molting, the crab must find a safe place. Once the old shell is removed, its new body remains soft. For a period of time, the crab is much more vulnerable to predators and injury. It must remain hidden until its new outer shell becomes strong enough to provide protection again. Step by step, year after year, the small crab becomes larger, and eventually, the island begins to hold a giant. Chapter 3. Life on an island. An island may look like paradise from a distance. Palm trees, warm beaches, tropical forests. But for a coconut crab, survival is never guaranteed. Food sources can change. Rainfall can change, temperatures can rise, and competition for resources can become intense. The coconut crab has adapted to this unpredictable environment by becoming an opportunistic feeder. It does not depend on a single type of food. It searches, it smells, it investigates. And when it discovers a valuable food source, it uses its powerful claws to take advantage of it. This flexibility is one of the reasons the coconut crab has survived for so long in isolated island environments. Chapter 4. The strength of a giant. The most impressive weapon of the coconut crab is its claws. They are not just large, they are extremely powerful. The claws allow the crab to grip, tear, break, and manipulate food. They also serve as an important defensive tool. But strength comes with responsibility. A giant body requires enormous amounts of energy. Every movement costs energy, every search for food costs energy. And every unnecessary fight could waste resources that the crab needs to survive. That is why the coconut crab usually relies on intimidation and avoidance rather than constantly fighting. It does not need to prove that it is strong. Its claws already tell the story. Chapter 5. The World After Dark. As the sun disappears below the horizon, the tropical island becomes cooler. The forest floor becomes dark, and the coconut crab begins its nightly journey. Its powerful sense of smell helps it locate potential food. It moves between trees, rocks, fallen leaves, and vegetation. Sometimes it may travel considerable distances while searching. Every night is another opportunity, but every night also brings danger. Other animals are active, predators may be nearby, and a giant crab moving through an unfamiliar area can still become vulnerable. The coconut crab survives not because it is invincible, but because it has learned how to use the environment around it. Chapter 6. Territory and competition. Food is one thing, space is another. On small islands, suitable habitat can be limited. Coconut crabs may compete for access to food, shelter, and suitable areas. Their size gives adults an advantage, but size does not eliminate competition. When the powerful animals encounter each other, body language and aggression can determine who gets access to a resource. The giant claws become warnings. The larger individual may have an advantage, but serious fights are risky. An injury could make it difficult to find food or escape danger. In nature, sometimes the smartest victory is the fight that never happens. Chapter 7. The dangers around the giant. Despite its enormous size, the coconut crab is not completely protected from danger. Young coconut crabs face many predators. Their small size makes them particularly vulnerable. Even adult crabs can face threats from introduced animals, human activity, habitat destruction, and changes to their environment. On islands, an ecological disturbance can have enormous consequences. When forests disappear, when coastal habitats change, or when human populations place greater pressure on island ecosystems, the world of the coconut crab becomes smaller. And when an animal depends on a limited island habitat, losing even a portion of that habitat can be serious. Chapter 8. A giant facing a new threat. For thousands of years, the coconut crab evolved alongside the natural environment of the islands. But modern humans have changed many of those environments. Habitat destruction, pollution, overharvesting, introduced predators, and increasing human activity can all create pressure on island wildlife. The coconut crab is particularly vulnerable because its populations are naturally restricted to specific islands and coastal regions. There is no endless continent for it to escape to. When its habitat disappears, there may be nowhere else to go. Chapter 9. The Guardian of the Islands. Despite its intimidating appearance, the coconut crab is an important part of its ecosystem. As an omnivorous scavenger and opportunistic feeder, it interacts with many parts of the island environment. It helps process organic material. It moves through the forest floor, and through its feeding behavior, it becomes part of the natural cycle of nutrients. Every species has a role, even a giant crab with enormous claws. Remove one species from an ecosystem, and the effects can travel much farther than expected. Chapter 10. The Last Giant. Imagine an island late at night. The ocean is quiet. The wind moves through the palm trees. And somewhere beneath the darkness, a giant coconut crab slowly emerges from its shelter. It has survived another day. It searches for food. It moves between the trees, its enormous claws open and close as it explores the forest floor. To us, it may look like a creature from another age, but it is not a monster. It is a survivor. A survivor shaped by the ocean, the forest, the island. and millions of years of evolution. The survival of the coconut crab. The story of the coconut crab is a story of transformation. It begins in the sea, it continues on land. A tiny marine larva becomes a young crab. The young crab survives countless dangers. It molts, it grows, it adapts, and eventually, it becomes a giant. A creature powerful enough to climb trees, strong enough to handle tough food, and intelligent enough to survive in one of the most challenging environments on Earth. But even the strongest animals are not invincible. The future of the coconut crab depends on the survival of the islands where it lives. Protecting those forests, protecting the coast, and protecting the balance of island ecosystems means protecting this extraordinary creature as well. Outro. The coconut crab reminds us of something important. Nature does not always create its greatest survivors through speed or aggression. Sometimes survival comes from adaptation, from patience, from strength, and from knowing how to live within the limits of an environment. From a tiny creature beginning its life in the ocean, to a giant walking through tropical forests at night, the coconut crab has written one of the strangest survival stories in the animal kingdom. This brings us to the end of our two-part documentary about the giant coconut crab. Thank you for watching Eagle Family Drama. If you enjoyed this journey into the wild, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. We bring you new wildlife documentaries and extraordinary stories from the natural world. New documentary every 3 days. Stay with us. This is Eagle Family Drama, where every creature has a story. And every story is a fight for survival.